My grandfather, Patrick Conway, directed traffic for decades, a couple blocks from here, and he was so beloved that at Christmas time, people would come by and they would hand him cigars, chocolate, whiskeys, and at the end of his shift, he would be surrounded with gifts in the middle of the street, and he used to have to rent a small truck to take his gifts home. So how could you have that story and not, it just beckons for a beer to be called Conway's Irish Ale with his face on it. You can see the original picture up in the upper right corner. Pat's got his semaphore, but it says stop. But when we decided to make a label with Patrick Conway on it, we made sure that it said go.
I like go. Let's go have a beer.
Right? My name is Patrick Conway, and I'm co-owner of Great Lakes Brewing with my brother Dan. I grew up in Cleveland, and I was in graduate school and bartending in Chicago. People I noticed were buying Bass and Heineken and Guinness and Carlsberg, and I was like, boy, there's a change in the American palate, but the major breweries aren't responding, so I said, I think I should build a brewery. When I opened up the phone book, looked under B for brewers, and there weren't any left. Cleveland had a history of brewing. In the 1870s, there was 30 breweries. Our founding fathers were from Connecticut, who had also come from England, so everything was ales, porters, and stouts. But then the revolution in the 1840s in Germany drove millions of Germans abroad, and many of them landed in Cleveland. And so the ales, porters, and stouts disappeared, and everything became lagers. It used to be that breweries were as important part of the culture of a city, like its sports teams, its newspapers, its politics. And so when the last brewery closed, we thought that there was a hole in the culture of the city. I opened up the phone book. I saw one name that said Brewers and Soft Drink Union. So I called them and I said, I'm looking for a brewer. And they said, Thane Johnson ran the last brewery in Cleveland, and he now owns an antique store. So why don't you approach him? He said, well, I brewed for 40 years and I'm now retired. But he said, if you want to hire me as a consultant. We went to see a brewery in Colorado. I said to Thane, maybe we should buy it. Thane said, I wouldn't hit a dead dog in the ass with this brewery. We'll never make great beer with this. And so we went to California and saw some great breweries out there. And then as we were flying back over the Colorado Rockies, Thane said, why don't we just build our own brewery? And I said, well, that'd be great, Thane, but you're a brewmaster, you're not a brewing engineer. And he said, yeah, but the guy that ran my plant is also retired, so why don't we approach him? And his name was Charlie Price. And Charlie came out of retirement, and Thane came out of retirement, and we all sat around and designed our first brewery next door, a second brewery across the street, and now our third brewery. So it was in the stars. We brought brewing industry back to Cleveland, and I think our whole culture here is benefited by the fact that we brought literally more flavor to the city.
We are a brewery, but for myself and the kitchen team, we're more than that. Nobody has a farm of this capacity around the corner from their restaurant in a major metropolitan area like Cleveland, Ohio.
The Ohio City Farm, incredibly robust and lively small farm in the middle of a Rust Belt city. The largest, most productive, and long-lasting urban farm in America. Tended and loved by our partners at Great Lakes, by the farmers that work with us from all across the world for a dozen years now. And on this property, we use zero chemical, all organic practices and grow upwards of 70 different kinds of produce a year.
This particular plot of land used to be part of Cleveland Metropolitan Housing.
They found out, unfortunately, in the early 90s that the hillside we're on is gradually falling into the Cuyahoga River. So they took the housing estates down, and this lot sat here for about 10 years until somebody had the idea to come out, do a soil sample, and they found out that it was perfectly fine to grow organic produce. So starting in 2010, this became the Ohio City Farm. This pathway we're standing on right now used to be West 24th Street.
Did you grow up in this neighborhood?
I sure did. West side of Cleveland, born and raised.
Yes.
Actually, I went to high school probably 2 blocks from here. I knew I wanted to be a chef from pretty young. I just remember always being in the kitchen growing up. And to be able to do this type of cooking, growing up under the Terminal Tower and being able to now serve a 5-course meal under the Terminal Tower, I don't need any Michelin stars after that.
Welcome everybody to our Brewmaster's Dinner. This is an especially special one because a lot of the food that you all will be eating tonight came from right here.
In 2010, the ground is broken. These same beds were put in with a team of Amish Clydesdales from Chardon, Ohio. And you can imagine what that picture looked like if you were up in the towers looking down at this neighborhood that, for so long had been overlooked and forgotten, it was a real sign of rejuvenation of this area. And I think that's what our partnership with Great Lakes on this property has been all about. Great Lakes is a flagship, not only in Cleveland, but especially in the Ohio City area. Really investing in what this place is, what it can be.
We're not just in the community, we're part of the community, and so giving back to our employees and giving back to the city is hugely important. In addition to the thousands of jobs we've provided over these decades, the whole notion of taking care of our people and our planet and our profits all just continues to resonate.
I've been at Great Lakes for 10 years now. The reputation is so strong, and to start working here and see that, no, that's not just a rumor, that's real. It's a lived experience here at Great Lakes. It's what's kept me here.
Everybody comes together and looks, okay, what do we do? How can we do better? We have a goal to be a zero landfill facility, to use as much as possible renewable energy.
Good planets are hard to find, right? Most companies, they take something, they make something, and they waste it. And we think take, make, and remake is prudent. And with the diminishing world resources, why not think that way?
Most of us have kids or have, next generation that we care about, and we know it's the right thing to do. And why not do it while we're making beer, right? And drinking beer.
Right.
We landed on the name because the most important ingredient of beer is water. 1/5 of the world's fresh water are the Great Lakes. There's nothing wrong with the name Great, right? There's something about Cleveland and our affinity with the lake and with our East Coast brothers and sisters. There's a unique culture to us that's really appealing. And the people here are terrific. And they love their sports, and they certainly love their beer.
My first Great Lakes beer was Edmund Fitzgerald Porter. I was at a karaoke party in someone's backyard and cracked one open there. And never looked back. Craft from there on out.
What was your first American craft beer?
Sierra Nevada. To this day, they're one of my favorite craft beers in the country. When we first started, we decided to go with lagers because Thane and Charlie Price were both lager brewers and engineers. So the Dortmunder became our first beer. Secondly, we thought the Dortmunder was a great entree into craft beers. It starts malty and it's got a slight dry finish, so it's a very balanced, beautifully crafted golden lager. I'm getting thirsty thinking about it.
So this was one of the first 2 beers that we brewed along with Elliot Ness, and it was originally called the Heisman. John Heisman, his childhood home is right down the street from our brewery. Pat and Dan called it the Heisman, and then later got a friendly cease and desist from the downtown New York Athletic Club. And very fortuitously, that same year, it won its first gold medal at the Great American Beer Festival. So they just said, why don't we just call this Dortmunder Gold? This kind of Cleveland's beer. We love it here. It put Ohio craft brewing on the map.
I love that it won right after the cease and desist. It's like, I am still a winner.
Yes.
Minor setback, major comeback.
Yes.
Now we're gonna kick it a little bit new school with our Crushworthy low-cal citrus wheat. Pairs well with experiences and places people want to go, whether that's running, hiking, going to a concert. You want something a little lighter bodied, a little lower alcohol, and a little lower calorie. This is 105 calories, but we still managed to give it full craft flavor. We use real lemon puree and peel and real orange puree and peel. It's called Crushworthy because you can crush a lot of them.
I could go running and drink this beer.
It's my recovery drink of choice.
She's going running with Crushworthy. I love it. That's hardcore.
We got our first tattoo of it the other day on social media.
Yeah, I was amazed someone actually tattooed that on their body.
We all have super fans. I mean, this is Great Lakes we're talking about. Yeah.
So let's talk about Burning River Pale Ale.
Based on the iconic environmental catastrophe of the 20th century where our river actually caught fire.
There's kind of a deeper story to that because the Cuyahoga River Fire of 1969 inspired the Clean Water Act, which is something we take a lot of pride in as a city. And with Pat and Dan's early founding principles of sustainability, they wanted to kind of flip those jokes and tell a more positive story about the impact that infamous event had on our country and how it inspired people to start thinking about the way we treat our waterways.
We also have the Burning River Fest, at which we have every year. The Burning River Fest has raised close to $1 million that we give back to local groups that work in sustainability.
I am very, very excited about an early Christmas present that I heard I might be getting.
I love talking about Christmas ale. This beer is legendary for us. It's kind of known as Midwest Christmas Ale now because we were sort of early originators of this style, this spiced holiday ale. First brewed in 1992, so this is its 30th anniversary. And it's just got a signature blend of real whole cinnamon, fresh ginger, and Michigan honey. And so keeping it local with this beer. It's just a phenomenon. It grew huge in Cleveland very quickly, and now just has this massive, I don't even want to call it a cult following because everyone loves it. All over the country, people travel for it, people bring it home. We've seen people send us pictures internationally of themselves drinking Christmas ale. And how do you make it more special? You throw it into bourbon barrels and age it.
It's like Christmas came early this year.
Usually we say do not open till Christmas, but we're making an exception.
Thank you. Cheers. Wow, it's so good though, the ginger and that honey sweetness. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Next to the hops, there's boxes and boxes and boxes of ginger. Then we chop it up and we put it in this big metal cage, basically, together with the cinnamon, and it goes into the kettle and it smells like Christmas as soon as we start brewing this. And the whole brewery smells like Christmas. It's only on the market for about 7 weeks. And it's the biggest brand that we have. It's bigger than our year-round beers.
We throw a party here every year. We call it First Pour, where we have a ceremonial tapping. And we pour a pint of Christmas ale every 13 seconds for about 10 straight hours.
Shut up.
We have people lined up all the way around the block. Yeah, it's incredible. People really show up for this beer. And this is at 10 a.m.
Wow, that's Cleveland though, I feel like.
I think people are really proud to say they're from Cleveland. They really wear it as a badge. There's that whole Midwestern identity that I think people are very rooted here. Even when they leave, they have such strong ties to this city and this community. They're proud that we've stayed in the city and that we've stayed independent, and the fact that we've remained a craft brewery. We're using real ingredients. That whole ethos of working hard, being independent, staying true to the city that grew you means a lot to a lot of people around here. It's shared values of us and the people around us that have built us.
To Cleveland.
To Cleveland.